1, 2.
And just make sure YouTube is good. It should be.
Yeah.
There were a couple issues earlier this week.
Tom Duncan? Okay.
Yeah, you're live.
All right. Looks like we are live. Just going to wait till I see myself. And then I'll let this play out a little bit. Looks like I'm getting audio too. It says clip though.
This should be good.
Okay. Still not. Okay, there we go. All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here at the First Alert Desk. We are glad to have you with us. Hopefully, you are having a safe and enjoyable holiday with you and your family members. We just wanted to come on here and bring you a few updates on some of the stories that are big talkers tonight and have been throughout since yesterday, heading into today, and just some of what you need to keep in mind and how you can plan your New Year's Eve if you would like. So we do want to start with a bit of news that, of course, we hate telling you about, but stuff you should know about. And this is for some of the bike riders in our community. There was a memorial ride held today. This morning, there was a memorial ride in Atlanta, and it comes after, let's make sure I can get this over here. May have to, let's make sure, I'm trying to make sure my headlines are showing. As you guys know, we are doing it all back here. Usually it would show up. All right, Cutter's the best. He was helping me out with that. All right, so the memorial ride, let's show you some video. And let's play that out for you. All right, so this is video from Metro Atlanta this morning when this bike ride took place, and hundreds of cyclists, bikers were out there gathering this morning in Atlanta to spread some road safety awareness after a cyclist from right here in Atlanta and from the Atlanta Winder Bike League was struck and killed last weekend. Now, this is some of the people that were out there trying to raise awareness about better safety for everyone on the roads, and they're now pushing for better laws, and they wanted to make a very big splash. That's really what they told us. They wanted to make this not just a small bike ride, but they wanted a lot of people to be a part of this because they feel like there needs to be better safety laws. They want drivers to also keep them in mind because they say that Tom Duncan should not have lost his life. He was riding with his Atlanta Winder Bike League at the time when it happened. Apparently he was at the back of the group trying to help another cyclist when this happened. And, they said that this could have been any one of them. So, and if you enjoy riding your bike, then this should resonate with you. And I understand that we do need some better bike lanes in Metro. So hopefully the city will hear your calls, and that's what was transpiring early this morning. All right, let's move right along here. All right, the other top story tonight, there's a fundraiser happening this evening, and it's for a Spalding County deputy that unfortunately was shot and killed in the line of duty. Now, his name is Officer Mark McIntyre, and this all happened yesterday, and this is horrible, but now the community is really rallying together to try
Every
to
time you saw him, he
ensure
was
that,
smiling.
he
would call your name across the
is
parking lot.
in the right way, and there's a picture of him right there that you're looking at. Let me make sure I can bring up everything. So they tell us that Officer Mark, or Deputy Mark, I should say, was responding to a domestic disturbance call yesterday when this happened, and he's a sergeant, and he was, as you know, they risk their lives every day in these moments, but they say, according to the report, a neighbor who did not want to be identified told Atlanta News First that a woman who lived in the home with the suspect, Todd Lamont Harper, ran to the neighbor's house to call 911 after a dispute, and when deputies arrived, police say Harper, the suspect, fired out of the window, striking Sergeant Mark McIntyre, and unfortunately he did make it to the hospital where he later died. Now, they did manage to apprehend the suspect, but they did tell us, investigators told us from the scene, that they had to actually break down part of the house in order to access him because he was at a standoff with deputies for several hours. But he is now in custody in Spalding County, and tonight we have our Atlanta News First reporter Joshua Skinner in Spalding County, where he went to a local fundraiser at a coffee shop, or coffee and tea, I guess you could say. They said that a lot of the deputies and police officers in that area frequent this cafe, and they felt like they wanted to do something for Deputy Mark's family in light of what happened, and so they held that today for him. And people were just coming in, so all of the proceeds were going towards that effort. So we're going to let you hear, and we're going to take you to that memorial that was set up for Deputy Mark McIntyre. We're going to take you to his memorial later on this evening. So stick around for that. We will have that report on Atlanta News First at 10 p.m. All right, moving right along here. This is another story that I've actually had some experience with, and then I've actually worked on myself. Not too long ago, we were talking about another closure of a WellStar facility. Now, if you have been following this storyline at all, it wouldn't sound unfamiliar to hear that WellStar Medical Health Systems has been closing down a number of hospitals in Metro Atlanta. They've already closed down 2 hospitals, and this was a big hit to many of the residents that I have spoken to, because one of the hospitals that they closed down was one of the only level 1 trauma centers in Metro Atlanta that these residents in South Fulton as well as East Point really had access to, and now they really have to drive about 20 to 30 minutes just to get to Grady Hospital if they are in need of emergency care services. Now, as a caveat to that, WellStar Medical did close down the hospital at their East Point, in East Point, but they did keep the urgent care open, and that was there for residents in that area. But now they have announced that they are going to be closing the urgent care as well. That was still sitting inside the doors of that hospital that was no longer operating as a hospital. So the urgent care is now gone too. And now residents are really upset because they're hearing that they have less than 2 weeks with a nearby urgent care, which was essentially the remnants of the hospital that was there to begin with. So now those residents are really calling for change, and they're hoping that the city can work something out. I did hear from city leaders. They thought that this was a very negligent move to say. I sat in on some meetings there, but there was also a protest today that I want to show you just so you can see the people, the healthcare advocates that were out there with signs. You can see them there, and this is outside let me just make sure I'm saying this right. This was outside of the Atlanta Medical Center South Campus for WellStar, and you can see all the people saying, people over profit. One of the major arguments here has also been they felt that, WellStar is coming into underprivileged communities and then leaving because they feel like that WellStar is sending a message that it's not profitable for them. And so that has been a major feeling among the residents that I have been speaking with, as well as many of the city leaders that I've spoken with. So we're going to keep an eye on that. We know that this is going to be a big blow to some of the residents who live there, and it's just in a number of days. So we will be there for that final closure. We were already there when they took down the signage, and we did speak to a number of people at the time who were there pulling up for services that they already were not offering. So that's the very latest on that story, and that really will do it for me. But now we get to the fun part. We get to check in with First Alert Meteorologist Cutter Martin, who is joining us now here on the First Alert desk. Yeah, it looks like his mic is on. Let's take our viewers outside, shall we?
Yeah, it's pretty gorgeous outside. A little cold, though.
Yes, very cold.
Temperature is already back in the upper 30s, lower 40s. Tori went out just a few moments ago, and it is heavy winter coat worthy out there. Light breeze, adding to the chill factor. So make sure you are bundled up if you have any plans outside this evening, no matter where they take you, inside the metro, inside I-285, or further outlying. It really doesn't matter. It is going to be cold across the board. Again, want to thank you for joining ANF Plus here. We're live streaming on a variety of platforms this evening. If you have any weather questions, comments, concerns, YouTube is the place to be. We're watching that feed here. Screen left, just outside of this particular camera shot. So you may see me look over to the left, and I'm monitoring our YouTube channel. Atlanta News First is the account to like and to follow. If you do have any weather questions, comments, concerns, just ask away watching the feed. We have, again, this is their avatar here, nothing but finest color. Thank you so much for commenting on the news stories, and saying, James Newton saying hello as well. Again, thank you, James, and everyone else for tuning in and for watching. We're going to go ahead and dive into the forecast right now, and we'll start right now with what's happening outside. Current temperatures under a clearer sky than earlier today, already back in the 30s, 39 in the city of Atlanta, 36 in Lawrenceville. So it is cold out there. Make sure you are bundled up. You certainly will need not just a light jacket, not just a sweater, but I would say, the heavy winter coat out there. But, of course, what you like to dress, how you like to dress, and what you wore yesterday and then the day before probably will apply again tonight. Again, we're getting kind of used to it here with this cold air settling into place, and more of the same here over the next several days. And again, nothing but finest color. Let's see, commenting on the WellStar news story earlier that Tori was talking about, getting the latest update on that. Also, Jude McCod, good evening to you as well. Thanks for tuning in and for watching. Again, checking in on the First Alert forecast. It is cold and getting colder very quickly out there, so keep that in mind. Temperatures are kind of just starting to fall under a mostly clear sky. And because the sky is clear, we have cold air settling back into North Georgia, and winds are light. We have a very chilly evening underway across North Georgia and metro Atlanta. And as cold as we are right now, again, already mid to upper 30s, and because the wind is light, if you're away from the city, you're probably already noticing some frost forming if you're heading out this evening on the roof of your car, the upper portion of the windshield, and we do have more chilly weather in the First Alert forecast, and we'll bring you to that hour-by-hour forecast now. Again, getting colder, probably many spots below freezing before the midnight hour. That's even closer into the metro. I think the city itself, the city of Atlanta, probably more in the mid-30s, mid to upper 30s, 36, 37. By midnight flat, we're already 39, though, as we approach the 9 o'clock hour here. Right now, time is 8:19, so actually falling a little bit quicker than originally forecast, just by a smidge degree or so, but nonetheless, proving the point that tonight is going to be a cold night. It's already very chilly, and a widespread freeze is likely tomorrow morning. I think very close to the freezing mark, maybe just a touch above in the city of Atlanta. Of course, that forecast, that 33, 34 is for Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, the official climate site, reporting site for the city of Atlanta. Pretty much anywhere else, Midtown, Downtown, Buckhead, Druid Hills, Decatur, on up to Chamblee and Dunwoody, and then, of course, further outlying from I-285, it will be colder than that. Many folks down to around 30 degrees, some possibly back in the upper 20s tomorrow morning. So it is going to be very, very cold, probably a frosty start to our Sunday, but also a sunnier start to our Sunday. You probably have noticed that clouds have cleared and the sun is back in the First Alert forecast. Again, nothing but finest color. Commenting on some of our news stories there that Tori was talking about. I'll be sure to relay any of the comments that you may have there on YouTube. And we may be streaming on many different platforms, AtlantaNewsFirst.com included, the Atlanta News First app, First Alert Weather app, Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, ANF Plus. We're coming to you many platforms. But if you have any weather questions, comments, concerns, Atlanta News First is the account to like and to follow on YouTube. You don't even have to like and follow. You can click Watch Live. It shows our most active live stream, the one right now, and you can contribute. If you have any weather questions, comments, concerns, feel free to holler. James Newton is saying burr, and that is absolutely the case. Let's take a look at current temperatures once again. A little bit of a different viewpoint here from earlier, and you'll see that Carrollton already down to 32 degrees. That is, of course, the freezing mark. 36 in LaGrange, 37 Locust Grove, 38 Covington, 38 Athens, 37 Gainesville, 37 Canton, and in Blair. So one of those weird nights for the city of Atlanta, not all that much warmer than even some of our mountain communities. So it's a cold night. I think the reason at the moment some of our mountain communities are just a little bit warmer but still cold is because we have a little bit more cloud cover up there at the moment, but that will kind of score out and clear out overnight tonight, allowing them to really plummet, perhaps even more than the city of Atlanta out the door tomorrow morning. It is going to be a freezing start in many spots. In fact, we can take a look at overnight low temperatures. Out the door tomorrow morning, we're talking widespread 30s, but probably some 20s out there. The early portion of tomorrow morning, at least. Again, it will go community by community here. A low temperature of 34 in the city, 30 Sugar Hill, 30 Redan, Embry Hills 34, but 28 Palmetto, 29 Kennesaw, 29 Roswell. A cold, a freezing, literally, start to our Sunday morning. Expanding the picture here up in the mountains, mid-20s, a good bet. Blairsville, again, once you clear out, your temperature will drop like a rock, probably surpassing or getting colder than, should say, the temperature that Atlanta is reporting by the time we get to, midnight, 1, 2 a.m. as you really start to clear out a little bit. 27 for your low temperature tonight in LaGrange, Rome and Dalton in the upper 20s. So lots of upper 20s, lower 30s tomorrow morning. I think 32, 33, up to about 34 reserved for the core, the warm part of the city of Atlanta, the most concrete covered portion of the city. Of course, that impacting the temperature the most. Of course, tomorrow is Sunday, but it's also New Year's Eve. Someday, the portion of the day probably beginning with festivities. Some don't wait until the evening to get the party started. So First Alert weather app is your friend tomorrow. Of course, you can stream the newscast with First Alert meteorologist Courtney Jacobazzi tomorrow morning in case you want an update on the forecast, but you can also check out the hour by hour there as well. And notice the coldest portion of the morning is going to be before 8 a.m., probably frosty as well. Again, a good setup for not only near freezing or below freezing temperatures tonight, but also a good setup for frost. And I do think it's going to be cold out the door in the morning, but recovering fairly quickly. We're back into the lower 40s by the time we get to, maybe mid-morning, 10, 11, so brunch time, still coat-worthy. From there, early afternoon, upper 40s, lower 50s. Noon, 1 p.m., still chilly, especially in the shade with the light breeze, but warmer than it was today. Only staying in the 40s, some areas low to mid-40s today, this afternoon, but tomorrow, we're shooting for low to mid-50s pretty much across the board with more sunshine in the First Alert forecast. Warmest between 2 and 4 p.m. And then, of course, for those evening festivities tomorrow, not as cold, at least initially, as this evening, but temperatures will drop pretty quickly back into the 40s. And I think by the time you are ringing in the new year, even in the core of the city of Atlanta, the immediate metro, low to mid-40s kind of the rule. So it will be pretty chilly once again. Make sure you are dressing in layers if you do have any plans tomorrow for New Year's Eve. I know so many do, hundreds of thousands, if not, more than 1 million people having plans for New Year's Eve, and everyone will need that jacket. Chilly conditions, in fact, lingering into the work week. In fact, we can pull out that forecast here for you, looking exclusively at high temperatures here, what the forecast is the temperature is forecast to peak at, I should say. And we'll pull that graphic out here for you in just a moment. And again, it is going to be cold across the board. In fact, we can go ahead and start with low temperatures through the week because this is another part of that story. Afternoons will be chilly, but mornings at times will be cold. And this is a look at the work week here. Morning low temperatures for each corresponding day. Sunday morning, low to mid-30s, many spots, though, outside, away from the city of Atlanta in the upper 20s. A little bit milder, Monday morning as some clouds move in, but I think the majority of the evening, as we just talked about, spent in the 40s. You'll certainly want the coat. And then below freezing Tuesday morning, that's even in the city of Atlanta, many spots 20s. Upper 20s, lower 30s, away from the core of the city Wednesday and Thursday mornings, but kind of interesting there. A little bit milder maybe than what we have the next couple of mornings. Sunday, Tuesday, should say, because we will have a little bit more clouds with the little midweek ripple in the atmosphere, little system passing just to our south. That could keep our overnight temperatures, while still cold, a little bit milder than what would be if it was a clear sky Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And then colder air again behind that system. Widespread freeze Friday morning, many spots in the upper 20s, kind of mid-20s range there, going 30, Hartsfield-Jackson, Atlanta International Airport. And, of course, some will be colder than that. Dee Winfrey saying just 11 more weeks until spring. Yeah, just now officially winter starting on the 21st, shortest day of the year, daylight-wise. And we do have a long way to go, but Dee Winfrey on YouTube counting down the time until spring and warmer weather begins. All right, let's break down that Atlanta's most accurate 7-day forecast here, the First Alert 7-day forecast, and notice how temperatures tomorrow afternoon after a cold start do rebound with sunshine back into the mid-50s. And then as we get into Monday, a little chillier once again, some clouds trying to sneak in, so a little bit milder, though still jacket-worthy, coat-worthy, Sunday night into Monday morning. Not worried about rain New Year's Day, but there will be more clouds around, mainly those high wispy clouds that we're not worried about dropping any rain. As those clouds clear out and cold air really settles in, another widespread freeze Tuesday morning, 51 Tuesday afternoon, and then another system that recently here, and this is kind of a change from what we were talking about earlier in the week, another system, is still on the way. passing in from the south and possibly remaining to our south. So the forecast trending drier midweek, lowering that rain chance down to 30%. Pretty much all models today, and even their ensembles, their parent models, that show a variety of options for one particular computer, basically, all trending further south and thus drier for our North Georgia and Metro Atlanta forecast with our midweek system. We're watching it. Still just a 20 to 30% chance of rain. Could be exclusively dry, but we're paring down that rain chance. Trending drier, trending with even less of a weather impact here locally. But we'll watch it for you. Temperatures in the mid-upper 40s because I think we will still have more cloud cover, blocking out some of the sunshine, keeping us even chillier Wednesday, Thursday. There is that widespread freeze Friday morning. Chilly air pulled in behind that system, passing to our south. The clouds clear out, so the stage is set for this coming Friday, a little less than a week out. Widespread freeze, 20s near 30 Friday morning. Of course, the city of Atlanta now having recorded several freezes and dozens of freezes now in our typically colder spots by this point. So it's old hat. We're used to it. The grass is dormant. A lot of brown spot out there. And any annuals that you have been needing to protect to stay alive, you've either protected them and you put them in the greenhouse, or they have already kicked the bucket. And you're ready for spring, as Dee Dee is, to get the warm, weather-loving plants back in the ground, but a while before we can do that. And then we're watching next weekend, once again, storm system modeled by the computers to move in and perhaps bring a widespread chilly rain with winter weather to our north, as it looks right now, Saturday into Sunday morning possibly, but I do think that the chance is there for that system to also shift further south. So we'll be watching it pretty closely for you. If it does trend wetter, if it does look like weather will have a greater impact on your plans next weekend, we will stamp that signature first alert on it, letting you know first that, hey, weather's going to impact your Saturday plans. Right now, though, an opportunity for that storm system to also trend further south. But don't worry, we're watching it. We'll keep you updated. Again, that's about 7 days out. Keeping a casual eye on it. But right now, rain not a guarantee. But a possibility and something that we'll be watching here for you. But I do think it's possible this could trend a little bit further south. We've certainly seen that with our past few systems. And a pretty busy weather pattern. You probably, if you have loved ones in the southern plains, the Gulf of Mexico, they've had rounds of rain. You're seeing the stories about big waves impacting coastal California, heavier mountain snow, valley rain down there. LA just had a pretty impactful storm with tornado warnings, fairly unusual for that part of the country. So an active storm track, as is to be expected with an El Nino episode, as we've been talking about here at Atlanta News First Alert Weather Team, breaking that down for you in our weather special most recently. So a lot to watch, but not anything to worry about, and we will continue to keep you updated. In fact, full forecast coming up tonight in about an hour and a half. Some new data coming into the forecast by that point with in regards to our midweek system and potentially that next week's system. You can catch it on Atlanta News First on Peachtree TV, Atlanta CW affiliate, and then we're back on Atlanta News First WNF for the late news, maybe on just a couple minutes late tonight. So stay up with us if you can. If you can't, full forecast always available in the First Alert Weather app and at AtlantaNewsFirst.com. Going to go ahead and leave you with a live look outside. Want to thank you for tuning in and for watching. A reminder, if you have any weather questions, comments, concerns, you can reach out to me on social media. Just search Cutter Martin, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, I guess X now, and pretty much any social media platform. Also, the rest of the weather team, Ella Dorsey, Patrick Pete, Courtney Jacobazzi, Rodney Harris, Fred Campagna, First Alert Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Valdez, all here to keep you updated. Stay warm. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. We'll see you in just a little bit on Peachtree TV.